Hey all, and welcome to this quick tutorial on making awesome looking gum trees. Gum trees are common throughout the world, however if you're modelling anywhere in Australia, knowing how to model a gum tree is essential. They can sometimes be difficult to model, however with these simple techniques you'll be making a forest full of gum trees in no time. So let's not waste any more time and get started. For these trees we'll be using Seafoam trees from Gagemaster. They make perfect armatures for all sorts of trees, however they need a little bit of work. First off, we need a way to straighten the trunks. To do this, I created some small weights with alligator clips, so I can easily attach the weights to the bottom of each tree. To make each weight, you'll need some large bolts, and some nuts, alligator clips, wire, and epoxy glue to hold it all together. Super glue will help hold the wire while the epoxy sets. Attach enough nuts onto the bolt until it reaches the top. The alligator clips have an insulation sleeve that is easily removed. A small amount of wire, about 3 cm long, is cut and attached to the alligator clip. The alligator clip has 2 small tabs that are bent over and pressed down in order to hold the wire. With the wire attached, we can bend it into a spiral shape with the top of the clip poking up like a cobra. This is where the super glue comes in. A small drop is applied to the top of the bolt and the wire is pressed into the glue. The super glue takes a while to set, so Zip Kicker is used to accelerate the curing of the super glue. It takes about 10 seconds for the glue to harden once the accelerator has been sprayed. Lastly, we need to apply the epoxy onto each of the weights to hold the wire. Using a self-mixing nozzle makes it much easier to apply the glue to multiple weights. It only took me about 1 minute to apply the glue to all 20 weight assemblies. Now we can move on to the trees. The box doesn't look at all that large, however once you remove the trees from the box and start to separate them, you'll be surprised at how many trees are actually inside the box. As you can see, they are not all straight, so most of the twigs will need to be straightened. In addition to straightening, we also need to remove any odd bits like large leaves. This is easily done with a good set of tweezers. To help soften the trunks of the seafoam twigs, I soak them in boiling water for at least 5 minutes. Try to use a large container so the twigs have a chance to spread out. I only had a medium-sized bowl, however I managed to fit 20 trees into this bowl. Once they have been soaking for 5 minutes, we can take them out and start hanging them on the drying rack. If you'd like more information on making this drying rack, you can click the link in the description to download the instructions. I deliberately hung them with the top of the tree pointed up so the branches fan outwards as they dry. It results in a more realistic shape once it's finished drying. Just be sure the clip at the top has a good hold so the tree isn't pulled down by the weight. The trees won't always be pulled perfectly straight, however a small amount of bending is okay and often adds a little more realism to the scene and other surrounding trees. To further seal the trees and help them hold their shape once dry, I give the trees a spray of isopropyl alcohol and then thoroughly coat the trees using some of the Woodland Scenics Scenic Cement. The alcohol helps the glue get into all the small nooks and cracks. In preparation for storing all these trees, I place them into a grid of foam. That way I have a place to leave them until I'm ready to install them into my scenery. Once the trees are dry, we can start to shape the trees by removing some of the branches. The amount of branches that get removed depend on the type of tree you're trying to replicate. For gum trees, we need to remove quite a lot of branches, but just be sure to keep all the twigs as they make great shrubs and saplings for later use. Painting the trees is a 2-step process. Firstly, I undercoat the trees with a medium brown colour, ensuring that I cover the entire tree. The second colour is a light grey colour that closely matches the grey colour of a typical blue gum tree here in Australia. With the tree painted, I further refine the shape by removing more branches to get the gum tree shape that I'm after. The gum tree canopy is fairly sparse, so quite a lot of material was removed and a small amount of touch-up spray paint was used to hide any exposed spots where the twigs had been removed. Foliage is added in 3 layers, the first being Woodland Scenics medium green coarse turf. The tree is sprayed with spray adhesive, and this first layer is applied very lightly. We want an overall airy feel, so only a very small amount of the coarse foam is needed. A second layer of spray adhesive is lightly applied over the first layer of foam, and Woodland Scenics burnt grass fine turf is sprinkled over the top. Again, it is applied very lightly, and this layer helps blend between the coarse foam layer and the final layer which we're about to apply. A final spray of the adhesive is applied, and then the final layer of foliage is applied. This is Nock olive coloured leaves, and this layer is generously applied over the tree, covering all the areas that had the coarse foam and the fine foam applied. Do your best to avoid getting any of the foliage material on the trunk of the tree. To help remove the tackiness of the branches that have been coated in spray adhesive, I use a matte varnish and cover the entire tree. This will slightly darken the final colour, and the heavier it is applied, the darker the foliage will appear, so I only gave the tree a light spray. If you find you need to lighten the tree, you can spray a light olive green or yellow over the top to help lighten the tree, however go easy, because it's very easy to overdo this step, and it's very hard to reverse without starting again. Now our trees are finished, and it's just a matter of installing them into the scene. If you've seen any of my previous tutorials, you'll probably see that I like to add lots of trees. You can't have too many trees, and it will often mean the difference between a good looking scene and a great looking scene. These trees are relatively easy and cheap to make, so be sure to make more than you think you'll need, and you'll be surprised at how many trees you actually use. This diorama has 16 large trees, 12 smaller shrub type trees, and it only measures 30 centimeters by 40 centimeters. It doesn't look overly populated with trees, and if anything, it could almost do with a few extras. Well, that completes this short tutorial. I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you'd like to help support the channel and my website, you can check out my Patreon page. I have some additional perks for patrons. Cheers, and thanks for watching.